Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Basement Sessions. My name is Jared Ursay, that bearded Canuck. We've got a very special guest in the Canuck Lounge with us today, Saskatchewan recording artist, Mr. Will Ardell. Will, how are you today, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I talked to you a little bit earlier this morning. You kind of had a bit of a late go over last night.
Yeah, late night. I think we got to bed around 5 and had a few hours sleep, and we're here.
You look amazing.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but let's go with that.
I got to thank you so much for making time to come and join us in the Canuck Lounge today. And we're going to be doing this, the Basement Sessions. We're going to be finding Saskatchewan talent that is absolutely amazing, a very untapped resource. Saskatchewan musical talent, this province makes unbelievable artists. I'm sure you'd agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to be doing here on the Basement Sessions is finding very, very talented folks, getting them in, tearing their brain apart, and kind of seeing what makes them tick. So of course, I wanted to make sure and get my good buddy Will here. So just to kick things off for the Basement Sessions here, Will. So you were born in the small town of Rock Point, Saskatchewan.
Well, Rock Point's actually kind of like the district that in the RM kind of community, but went to school in Lucky Lake. Born in Saskatoon, but went to school in Lucky Lake, and spent most of my life in the hills between Dinsmore and Lucky Lake was where our farm was. So that was most of my upbringing right there.
Excellent. So tell me, and now myself, I'm a small town kid as well, so I kind of get what the small town vibe is all about. How do you think growing up in a small town shaped you as an artist and as a person?
I think for where I was situated there and being in these smaller environments, I love the storytelling. My family was, part of that was we used to go down to the States and custom harvest for a number of years, I think until about 88, but that was very influential in me growing up, to travel all those miles in those situations in those states, right? Because you get to meet a lot of people, you get to meet a lot of individuals, a lot of characters, and I always enjoyed that, to understand people's stories. Even in a small town, everybody's got a story. I used to really love sitting around listening to people talk about things, and I think that was very influential in terms of songwriting for me.
Excellent.
Something I really enjoyed.
No, for sure, and and I can completely 100% agree with you. You get around those, a lot of the older folks, and there's always that amazing storytelling.
Yeah.
And having the opportunity to listen to between your earlier stuff and what you're doing now, I can really tell that comes through in your music. So
yeah, and I think you just try to be more genuine. I think that's the process of. I started doing this when I was pretty old by all accounts in the business. So I didn't do it when I was 20. I didn't do it when I was 25. Started when I was about 29, really. So you're already quite old by the business standards, and it really helped, I think, along that way to, like you said, to really enjoy the stories of people and try to make something better of it, with musically.
You bet. So now, the way you actually started out, you started out as a poet.
I used to scratch things down on paper. Yeah.
You bet. So, and for quite a few years now, I know that the transition from poetry to music can sometimes be very difficult, or sometimes be very easy. How did you find the transition from poetry into music?
It wasn't that difficult, because I think when you're already writing lyrics, you're putting stuff down on paper. The next progression for me was just melodies, and I still remember as a kid growing up, and I'd be coming back from church or whatever, I was 5, 6, 7 years old, and I could hear songs in my head, like you hear all the notes, you could hear everything how it was, and I didn't know what to do with it at that time. So as you get older, you start developing, hopefully, some of those skills where you start putting melodies to the music, to the lyrics, to the music and stuff.
Going through musical puberty.
Yeah, basically, right? So it took a while, but it was something that I think was always there, and I've just hopefully tried to refine it a bit more as I've gotten older. But it's always something you're working on daily.
For sure.
You never get too accustomed, too comfortable with it.
Of course. Now, as drawing some comparisons, okay, we've got other great Canadian poets. You got, Gord Downie, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, Gordon Lightfoot, all those guys. They have had the ability to put themselves into a specific genre. Gord Downie went more to rock. Joni Mitchell, of course, very, very folksy.
Yeah, right.
How do you define your genre? Or can it be defined?
I tend to go all over the map, and I think I kind of have tried to make something that's maybe just sounds like me, no matter how it comes out, no matter how the production comes out on the song. I've struggled with that too, because I find that if I try to stick to just one thing, if I stick to a classic country sound or whatever, the next day I'm like, well, I want to do something with metal in it. I want to turn the orange amps up to 11. So it's like my brain doesn't allow me to just to stick in a certain genre. I'm not a big fan of that either. I think if you're an artist, you do whatever comes to you, and you paint it, your picture your own way, and hopefully that can be relatable to people. Hopefully it can be recognizable, I think, and that's always the trick. That's the hardest part of it.
Sure. What we'll do right now, if it's all right with you, we'll take a little break from the questions here, and you brought a few songs that you're going to play for us today.
I can do. Actually, have a new one out. Came out 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3.5 weeks ago. Songs in the Dark.
Okay.
I'll play that one if you don't
Please, let her bark.
Sometimes I'm a raging fire in a whirlwind smoke, drinking whiskey from the Father, drown the Holy Ghost. I don't let the hard times kill me, ain't nothing gonna break my heart. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. The truth is this wide world turns too fast, and we'll never plant the future if we keep digging up the past. Should I crash and burn, Lord, hope I leave the mark. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. Blame it on that wild western wind, or the poetry of a man beneath my skin. Know that I love you, baby, like metal loves the lark. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. We're the wild ones, renegade, small town, born and raised. Our sweet salvation lies beyond the lines of the interstate. Tonight we'll go out dancing under a halo built of stars. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. Blame it on that wild western wind, or the poetry of a man beneath my skin. Know that I love you, baby, like metal loves love. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. Searching for a place we can find, far from the world we leave behind. Blame it on that wild western wind, or the poetry of a man beneath my skin. Know that I love you, baby, like metal loves the lark. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark. Whoa, writing songs here in the dark.
Wow, that is tremendous, man.
Thank you.
Excellent. So don't forget, folks, check out, we're going to be posting a link right below the video here, Will Ardell Music on Facebook. He's got a YouTube channel as well. We'll be posting the link to that. So that's amazing, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just write things and hopefully they stick. It's like throwing stuff on a wall sometimes. It doesn't always work. But.
Hey, no, it's all good, man. So I noticed. Okay, no, we were talking about small town before. There was a particular lyric there. You know how you're raised in a small town and salvation lies beyond the interstate. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll kind of touch on that a little bit. Do you find that the only way I guess to gain any notoriety whatsoever, you do have to get out of the small town and try and make your mark in the bigger city. Is that?
I think where that lyric came from was like, especially the last 2 years of COVID and with all the lockdowns and stuff. And maybe it's just like we were talking before we went on air here. I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, I don't like the major centers anymore. I'd rather be miles from anybody out in the middle of nowhere. That seems to me to be where I find probably the most peace inside. And when I was younger, and I used to love coming to the city, bright lights, all the fun, be way out of control. And now I'm just, if there's more than 3 people, I tend to revert back to my cave, and I don't know why that is, but it just seemed to has happened the last year or so.
Well, and I think like we were talking about earlier as well. Once you get to a certain age, it's really not giving a fuck anymore, right?
Yeah, you I don't know, you stop caring. The things that you worried about at 20, 25, 30.
Yeah.
When you become, I don't know, I'm 40 now, coming 41 this year, but you just stop worrying about them. I think of how silly I used to be, worrying about, my belt had to match my pants, and now I'm like, most days I don't give a shit. Is my fly open?
And even then, I'll take a minute or two to do it up because who gives a shit?
Maybe some people listen to that and go, "Well, that's okay. Well, you're not taking care of." Well, it's not taking care of yourself. You just stop worrying about the things that that don't matter anymore.
Right.
Maybe that's how I view it.
And we were talking as well. Okay, the things that used to matter, the things that were at the forefront of how you used to be. You were raised in a fairly restrictive type of manner as far as musicality and things like that. How do you think that shaped you? And can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think it definitely influenced me. It left a mark. The one thing about growing up in the religion too that I grew up in, it was very conducive to singing and church music and stuff like that. So those kind of melodies were always in my head, and I think they were a big influence as far as the musical part of it. It took a bit to start branching out on my own and doing what I do now, because it's different than how I was raised. That's what I'm doing now.
Right.
So it took a bit. It took a lot of years to kind of develop a sense of being able to do it. And I still struggle nowadays, even going on stage sometimes, and you wouldn't think that anymore, but there's always in the back of my head that, this isn't the way I was raised to do things. So
that's what I was going to ask you. Do you find yourself having a little internal pushback?
There always is. Yeah. There's always a confliction in me, and I'm very honest about that. I'm conflicted all the time in things, which often comes out in my songs. Hopefully there's always that. I don't think anything's black and white in an issue. There's multiple shades of gray. There's multiple avenues to consider. So when I write songs, I think that plays a huge part of it, because I'm always constantly conflicted, even in my day-to-day things.
Right.
I always heard the expression that some of the effect that the stupid people are always confident.
It's the truth.
And it is,
yeah.
Right? Not that I'm smart or intelligent by any standard. I just have always had a lot of confliction in the way I view issues, the way I view social issues, the way I view music, the way I view everything. So hopefully that comes out in my art too a little bit.
Well, and when you mentioned your view on social issues and whatnot, we were talking earlier about how certain lines have been blurred. Your song "Highway to the Sun" deals with some very, very tough imagery.
Mm-hmm.
I know, looking at the video, there's some fairly tough imagery. Do you find that attacking those head on is maybe the best way to deal with them? What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I think with a song like that, it was kind of based off of watching Mad Max Fury Road, and it was paralleling to a lot of things that were going on at the time in society, and that was kind of how I just said, well, I don't often go in there and think I'm going to write something that deals with this directly. It's just sometimes things hit me and it all comes out, and we made that video to show the process, like with Kitchener Langfeld in that video too. It's kind of the main character, but it was kind of a really great storyline that Prehistoric Productions came up with, and kind of how we wanted the song to be. It shows a man that, you know, loses his job, bills are way out of his control, he can't pay any of it. And there's a lot of people that have gone down those progression of steps, like from boom, 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 and suddenly you're at rock bottom, and the next thing you know, you're taking your own life. But at the end of that video, he chooses to face another day, and the sun coming up in his eye, and I think that was always the kicker. And I loved it when the guys came up with that. Like, that's brilliant.
That's amazing. Yeah, and we will post a link to that video as well. It's absolutely amazing. Now, where was that song recorded?
That was recorded at Skull Creek Studios with Aspen Beverage.
Okay.
He's been my producer, I think, for about 6 years now. Worked really, amazing guy to work with.
You always have absolutely wonderful things to say about
Yeah.
Skull Creek and
Yeah.
Aspen and all the crew over there. So
Super talented guy.
we'll definitely post a link as well to Skull Creek Studios so you folks can have a look. It's always cool. It's so cool to find such awesome partners to work with right in your own home province.
And you know, a lot of times too, it's like I think for anybody who's done this business, you go through periods where, like, the first stuff I was recording, which was, I enjoyed the songs on there, like, don't get me wrong, but it's nice when you find a guy you can work with, or a crew that you work with, where you all really get along and you can all talk about everything. It's not just a number, not just putting you through the door, right? And that's one thing I really appreciate about Skull Creek, is that aspect. We've become really good friends, and we can talk, you know, about anything and everything.
Excellent. You know, I was again, as I was mentioning earlier, I've had the opportunity to listen to some of your earlier stuff. As a matter of fact, you sent me some of the first stuff that and you know you were well, I'm talking like you had it was very rock and almost pop influence.
Yeah.
How now, looking back on your earlier answer, how you can't really categorize yourself in a particular genre, do you find that your earlier influences?
I think it always is like that, because I mean, I Guns N' Roses is one of my first albums that I ever went and purchased at the hardware store in Lucky Lake. And I think the next one was like
Do you remember what's your Appetite for Destruction?
Yeah,
of course.
It was a tape or something like that.
I think that was issued to every farm kid.
Like back in those days, right? That was a standard thing. And then I think I have a Creed one, a live one, like live the band.
Oh yeah, live, yeah. Throwing
I
copper.
used to love his lyrics, because he was a great writer, right?
You bet.
I think Ed is his name. I can't
Yeah.
remember his last name, but
Yeah.
I was fascinated with those kind of guys that were writing lyrics like that. And then, like I said, Creed. And I think I had a Kid Rock one. Then I had like a Johnny Horton tape. Like, it was the most eclectic arrangement of music everywhere in that car of mine. So.
Well, and you know, this was another thing I was going to ask you. I know it's a very canned question. Like, okay, here's an interview question, but because you have such an eclectic style, I want to know who your main influences that you draw from are. I know it's again, it's hard to really pinpoint it, I'm sure, but
I think it changes too. Like those, there's always, like, everybody says Johnny Cash, right? Well, he's an influence to a lot of people, and everybody wears the T-shirt at the band event.
This one,
right. So, but I think from a perspective of an attitude, I always really appreciated Johnny Cash. He had a style. He's recognizable. Lemmy from Motorhead is another guy we've talked about before. I don't know what it is. It's like that, just the blunt honesty, and it's just the straight ahead, like, no frills rock and roll. And if you don't like it, leave.
And you know, it's funny you mentioned Lemmy. I was just you know, when you're late at night, you're sitting there scrolling through social media and you get those little videos that kind of take you down the rabbit hole. You know, I was watching an interview with Lemmy. It was this pretentious schmuck of an interviewer. It was back in the 80s, and the interview was the whole shtick was they were laying in a bed, and whoever she was interviewing would lay in bed with her, and she was trying her best to get Lemmy's goat, you know, about well, you're not particularly good looking. I wouldn't have a man like you, and he just didn't give a fuck. And you know, and I think that comes through in a lot of stuff you do, not just simply not giving a fuck.
You have to. I think, like we talked earlier, you get to a certain point, it's like you don't care anymore. What's the worst they're going to do is hate you.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Next.
I think you just have to. It takes a while to develop that as an artist, and maybe some people are already born with that, and I'm definitely not one of them, because I've had to go constantly navigate all over the map, and I'm still never quite sure exactly who I am. So that's something I think it's a gradual process, and but you do start getting to the point where it's like, I just want to write songs that I love writing, I love singing, and then I hope other people like them too. And if they do, that's a bonus on it, right? So that's the important part of art.
Well, and kind of speaking of that, you're very passionate about the art side of things, and if you don't like me, hey, deal with it type of thing.
There's lots of other people that are better than me. So.
Well, and that's where I'm going here. Now, you've been a hardworking, you've been a working musician for going on 20 years now. So we've got. I want to know your opinion on, the Justin Biebers, the Billie Eilish, the winners of American Idol. Now, you work your ass off playing these, the back rooms and the dark dank bars type of thing. To have these young kids have the ability to just blow up overnight and be super successful overnight due to social media, Usher found Justin Bieber at a very young age, and all of a sudden this kid's worth $250 million. What is your opinion on that quick rise to fame when you've got 4 judges sitting in front of you that you just have to impress for 2 minutes?
Yeah, that's always a tough one, because I think it's convoluted, right? I don't begrudge anybody. You take the opportunity when it comes. You make your money, but I understand the machine of the business, and that's the way it is, right? It's the faster you go up, the faster you fall sometimes.
Isn't it ironic that Scott Borchetta called it big machine music, right?
Well, it is a machine. Like, the business is a machine, and it takes a lot of parts to run the machine. So I don't begrudge anybody doing what they do, and they're making money, and they're singing what they want to sing. That's their choice. So, everybody has a different path to it. It's easy to criticize and say, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, and this is all bullshit. And there's a lot of the music industry can be that way, but you take your opportunities when it comes, and good on them for doing that. Am I going to get that? Nah, probably not. I'm going to keep working my, just my own little way and doing my own little thing, but good on them. Like, it's something that they're doing, so.
Well, and I think that speaks a lot to your character, because personally, I'd be pissed off. I really would.
You can't be, because it's like, you realize your own position. You got to be bluntly honest with yourself. Like, I'm an older, overweight, wearing black, singing songs about death.
Not exactly
it's
not exactly mainstream radio friendly.
It's
right?
not. It's like I understand where my niche is, and that's where I'm comfortable with it. What they're doing, good for them, right? They built something. They built a following. They built a really big, kind of fan base, and that's great for them.
So, do you think they've built it, or was that fan base pre-built?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
It can be helped. There's no question about that. I think, but you latch on. People will latch on to something, and it's like we're in the age of viral right now, right? So you can have a 10-second clip, and if everybody likes it, boom, the next day you've got 1 million followers. So that's how quickly things can change.
And that's just it. Like, are you familiar with Kane Brown? Have you ever heard of Kane Brown?
I've heard some.
Yeah, he's another kind of what they call bro country. Another one of those. Now, I remember seeing Kane Brown, seeing videos of him singing.
Not to cut you off, you ever get a mustache haircut on the lip of his hand?
Did it rip out?
I'm going to tell you, folks, that is probably the most painful thing on my face right now.
I've been there. I've been there.
So sorry.
See, you gotta pull one of these, right?
Brought tears to my eyes.
Well,
I'm not even singing a sad song.
Yeah, all of a sudden you got me worried. See, and that's the thing too. You really got to watch, just in case a wasp. I know we're inside the studio now.
Yeah.
If you get a wasp in there, you're not going to be singing for a while if you take a sip of a wasp.
It's like when you pull out a thick bulbous mustache hair unannounced. That makes tears come to your eyes.
You worked through it like a pro. I didn't even know till you told me.
My eyes are watering. But yeah, that's
well played. So anyway, now, like I say, back to Kane Brown. When I first saw some videos of his, he was singing George Strait songs, and he was amazing. The kid had a killer voice, and everybody got on to, oh my God, this is the next George Strait, da 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 da. that I think was just the, you know,
It
and
could
now he's talking about tailgates, fishing next to the girl in the cutoff jeans, sipping sweet tea, again.
It's about money and it's about what sells, right? That's all it's about, and we all know that. It's about making the dollar, and your career is a short term. Like for a lot of people, it is. They don't make the long term legends anymore. It's starting to come maybe back around, but most times it's get in and get out, and we're done. So.
And, you know, speaking of long-term legends, and it's starting to come around, you know, just before we started here, you and I were talking, you told me something that Jamie Johnson had said the other night. It was, you know, he was a little bit...
Yeah, I can't remember the whole context of it, but there was something to do with the local radio DJs that were on this stage. It was actually, I just read it online, but yeah, something about, you know, they don't play my music, so what are you doing on my stage, or something to that effect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
and you know, that's when you get there, you know, these guys have had the ability to garner a following without the backing of, you know, these major bubblegum labels, I guess.
You look at people like Cody Jenks down in the States, doing amazing things. Tyler Childers, Coulter Wall, even our own provincial guy here.
Yep.
Just amazing artists that are selling out venues wherever they go, and you know, with minimal airplay, you know, in the States or Canada, but there's a huge underground scene. Country music is definitely alive and well, and it's creeping into perhaps the more top 40 stuff too, with the influence of that. But it's, like I said, you do a little digging out there, and you don't have to dig very hard. And there's some really amazing artists, Zach Bryan, like some of these guys that are just blowing the doors off right now. I wish I could sing like half of them and write like half of them, because they're doing such amazing work right now.
Excellent. Well, and speaking of writing, you brought another song along with you?
Yeah, this is one I just started playing acoustically here the last year. It's on my second album. I'll try to get through without screwing it up.
What's this one called?
Dangerous Eyes.
Dangerous Eyes, okay.
Yeah, it's I think I wrote it in Toronto in the foyer when I was recording there, because I needed some lyrics for this melody, so I just rammed them all down on paper and went in, and this is what it ended up being. So.
All right.
Haunting my memory, burns bright as day. Cold whiskey and hard living won't keep her at bay. She's a devil in disguise, and this is a wicked game. The more that I try to leave, the less I escape. There ain't no place to run, there ain't no place to hide. I feel them bullets punch my heart every night when I close my eyes. Baby, if you hear me screaming, it should come as no surprise. I'm drowning in the waters of dangerous eyes. Like smoke from the ashes, she slips in my room, piercing my mind and soul under the light of the moon, jarring the photographs of all my old flames. Her pleasure is my poison running through my veins. There ain't no place to run, there ain't no place to hide. I feel them
amazing, man. Great job. Now, all this stuff is available on Spotify?
Spotify, iTunes, YouTube Music, everything digital formats.
All right. Well, we'll definitely be posting links to all those. That was absolutely amazing. Did just listening to it, did you have anybody in particular in mind when you wrote that?
No.
It just kind of came to you.
I just, I don't know, I was like, let's just write a song that doesn't sound stupid on the album. That's kind of how, that's about the...
That's awesome. You know, sometimes the most impressive stuff just kind of comes from the ether, right?
Yeah, because I was sitting there and Paul, I think Paul at that time was working on doing some of the mixing on previous tracks, and he's like, well, we should get some lyrics for this. I'm like, okay.
I'm on it.
So I just sat there and had a Bud Light, and with one lamp in the room, and I'm like, what can I scratch down that kind of sounds like cool but not stupid? So
no, that's absolutely amazing, man. No, it always absolutely blows my mind because I do not have a creative mind. It absolutely blows me away how stuff like this can just.
It's the voices in a guy's head. That's what helps you, man. They try to medicate you for that. Don't let them.
Don't let I love it, honesty. So, I get, you know, I had some other questions here, but you know, you and I we get together.
Yeah.
You know,
Shit goes south.
Shit goes south.
Yeah.
We do our little saving the world, beer by beer. You know, solving the world's problems.
Mm-hmm.
I guess seeing the amazing amount of talent that you have, and I know you're a very humble guy, and hearing that kind of stuff, you're kind of like, well, I just do what I do. But you know, it's an amazing amount of talent that you've got. I want to know what is your end game in the music industry?
Honestly, I don't even know myself sometimes, and I think that's some people have a really 5-10 year plan. I think I don't right now, and I just want to put out good songs, and hopefully songs that are going to be remembered, that they're relevant still in 10 to 20 years. So that's probably my end game. Is like I don't expect a lot out of it, and I know people say, well, you should always, you know, plan to do this and be famous. That's not what drives me to do this.
So, I guess I'll ask now. With the should it happen one day that all of a sudden, oh my goodness, boom, there's Will Ardell, big lights, you know, playing the Hollywood Bowl type of thing. You know, we've all heard the, I guess, the anger towards a band like Nickelback, they're being called sellouts. Okay, what do you think there is such a thing as selling out? I know it's a loaded question, right? Like,
I think there can be, but at the same time, everybody wants to get paid for what they're doing, right?
Right.
So if that's what the route people want to go, then who am I to judge that? You know, it sure beats making 0.04 cents on the stream.
Well, and that's just it. Like, yeah.
So yeah, I think you can. I think it's always the balance to try to remain true to your musical integrity, your artistry. But it is, and the reality is that once you start developing something that can blow up and go big, you know, there's a lot of money to be made. So that's the way it is, right? People always say Metallica sold out, and it's like, did they though?
Well, you know, a guy can call bullshit because what does selling out constitute? Like,
is it becoming successful that makes you selling out?
And that's just it. I've always wondered. That's always been a real mindfuck for me because you know, Nickelback, they continue to sell out concerts.
Well, of course, yeah.
If that's selling out, well then sell out.
And you look at Metallica now, even with Stranger Things, the show.
Yeah, you got Eddie fucking bringing back Master of Puppets.
Like that's amazing though, right? Like
Kate Bush.
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
It's back. It was back in #1 on the charts in the UK.
Yeah,
Kate Bush from 1985.
I know it's so. I don't know if it's ever selling out. It's like these bands are doing what they want to do, and they're making money, and they're living a life, being able to tour the world. Is it selling out? Because I'm still working a day job. If I become famous, did I sell out? No. You know, it's just. I think it's a very it's an easy thing to say that the bands sell out, right? Like, it's an easy thing to poke at them and say that. I don't know if that's always true at all.
Yeah, and I remember again going back to Nickelback. I remember watching Nickelback. They had just released Leader of Men, one of their first albums, and they were playing at the State here in Regina, and we were all so blown away. It was $8 to go see Nickelback, right? Yeah. And this is when they were first starting out. They were just starting to garner a bit of fame. And after the show, Chad Kroeger was behind the bar checking out beers, and maybe people are a little bit butthurt that Chad Kroeger is no longer slinging beers behind the bar at the State. He's, I guess.
I think it's an easy way to like pick at people, right? I don't know if I've ever done the sellout. I've never even considered that about bands. It's like, as long as they're making the music you want to make and it's good music to them and to their fans, good on them.
Well, and I brought up the Bieber and the Eilish and this and that. Not my type of music.
Yeah.
But I'll take a page out of your book. It's good to see that they're making music that they enjoy making, and even if they don't enjoy it, they're enjoying the success.
They're enjoying the success, and you know what? It's something like I know they wanted to do for their whole lives probably. So it's like good on them for doing that. Yeah. I have no problem with anybody doing that.
Yeah. I've got one last question that I've written down, and then I'll. Did you bring one more song with you?
I do actually. It's an old one. It's a sad one. It's like get the whiskey out. And
oh well, we can certainly do that. We're gonna end up having a shot here. So
nothing better than old school crying in your whiskey glass country songs, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing better than that.
It's tremendous. You bet. And it actually makes you. It makes you want to drink.
It's like sitting in a smoky bar room, and you came off a long 24-hour work day. And there's this sad country song, and you're like, "This is where I belong."
So before I let you carry on with your final tune for us here, again, this is a very loaded question. We talked about your music, we talked about your upbringing, things like that. For you as a person, I've had the privilege of knowing you for quite a few years, and I'm proud to say we've become good buddies. I want to know, how do you want to be remembered as a person? When you're getting when you're getting lowered into the 6 feet, how do you want to be? I know that's deep, right? It's
how much time do we have to camera that? It's very. I don't know. I think just someone who tried. Maybe that's the best way, because I think that's all you can ever do is try. And it doesn't mean you're gonna do it right. You might do things wrong, but try.
We all have our fuck ups, right?
Yep.
I mean, everybody's fucked up, but no, that's absolutely wonderful. And I agree with you. It's
very easy to I think get caught up in that, to maintain an image, to be an image, that's not reality though. Nothing is ever smooth, and I think if anybody tells you that, they're lying to you. It's like being able to navigate the rough waters, the calm waters. It's to be able to sit on the shore for a bit and just relax. Just be able to do what you have to do in life, and if something happens, you just keep going. You learn from it. You grow. I think if you grow as a human every day, you're doing something right.
God, I couldn't have said it better. That's super deep, and I love that about you. You've got.
I read a book once.
One time I read a book.
One time I read a book.
And we were talking. You've got this exterior of just kind of, you're the big old fin. That just whatever.
I had to make sure before I sat down this chair was going to hold me tonight. and it does.
It's doing well.
So far it's been doing good. I think it's got about a 2 more minute expiry limit on it.
But like I say, you've got this exterior, and to tell you the honest truth, the first time I met you, it was backstage at a festival in northern Saskatchewan.
Oh yeah,
in Nipawin.
Yeah, the Shaker.
The 5 acre Shaker. Yeah, that was the first time I met you, and I. To be honest, I kind of looked at you. I really I recognized you from social media.
You're like, does this guy shower?
Just to look at you, you had your cowboy hat on, and you're sitting there, in your dark brooding way, and you're sitting there tuning up, and I'm like, this guy might take that Fender and smack it across my fucking head.
No,
but you actually approached me and did Jared, Ardell, nice to, and. We sat and talked, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's been a good ride, man.
I've I always tell you, even I think before shows too, I get so idiosyncratic Is that the word? What is the word?
Idiosyncratic?
That's the word.
Is that the one?
I just drive a truck.
I don't know what it means, but I can say
I just drive a truck. That's all I do. So, but I go through my motions, right? Like about an hour before a show, I just have my certain things that I seem to have, like a goaltender before a hockey game. You touch a post, skate up to the blue line, just get a circle, take a drink for everyone. It's just I have these certain little weird things that, because it often takes me a lot of nerves to go up there and do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I get all this nervous, and I just have my routine. It's just the same thing I do every show, and it just seems to get me into the zone. But yeah, so I suppose sometimes people will look at me backstage and go, what the hell is wrong with that guy?
And like I say, I'm not a big man by any stretch of the imagination, but like, here's this freaking jack guy. He's gonna end up whacking me if I go talk to him. But no, like I say, it's I often think of Shrek when and not the way you think of it, but peeling back those layers.
Yeah.
And man, you are a deep fella. It comes through in your art. It's amazing. You know you're eloquent. I can't say enough about you.
If I have a half a bottle of whiskey, I'm less than eloquent.
Yeah, but man, can we solve some problems after that bottle of whiskey? So I'll let you to your final tune with us, and
Sure.
if you feel like yapping a little bit afterwards, cool. If not, we can certainly wrap it up. But ladies and gentlemen, once again in the Basement Sessions, Saskatchewan's own Will Ardell.
So I'll give a little quick story for people who maybe never heard this song. I know there's quite a few that maybe have heard it. It was on my first album, but it was a conversation I had with my dad, and I had driven from Saskatoon to where my parents were living at the time, and it obviously was inebriated, but he was telling me that morning, that 3 or 4 in the morning, whenever I got home, and I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, of course, as you are at those ages, and to combine that with some liquor involved, and he was sitting there in the corner chair in the dark smoking a cigarette and waiting up for me because I wasn't answering my Nokia. One of those old Nokias that were like a brick. Right?
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
Kill a man.
You couldn't kill him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is kind of a story that came from that conversation where he said that drinking whiskey wasn't going to make me mad. So the next morning, I started writing that song out when I sobered up. And excuse me, that it speaks about him dying, and that was probably the hardest thing at the time, was to write about something like that just from a song perspective, and a few years later he did pass away. So it was like that kind of stuff was like very hard to sing about for a while, but it's a song I'm probably most proud of what I've written, because of the story it tells, and hopefully has a good message to anybody out there. Well, sorry for that long-winded explanation, but here we go. He was waiting for me when I came stumbling in. I could see the pain in his eyes that I'd caused again. And through the smoke of a cigarette, he raised his head to me. I could see the teardrops running down his cheek. Said, son, I've been around 65 long years. I buried some good men who couldn't face their fears. It's not the way you raised you. I pray you'll understand. Drinking all that whiskey will never make you mad. Well, I hung my head in silence. There's nothing I could say. I wanted to take him in my arms. Pride got in the way. I'd heard a father's love was deeper than the seas. In my whiskey mind, his words came back to me. Said, son, I've been around 65 long years. I buried some good men who couldn't face their fears. It's not the way you raised you. I pray you'll understand. Drinking all that whiskey will never make you man. Well, it's been 12 years now day I took a drive, visit at his grave. I could feel the warm wind blowing, heard the singing of the birds. I knelt down beside him, stumbled on these words. I said that I've been around for a young man of my years. I buried a good man who helped me face my fears. Even though my life ain't come according to plan, realize whiskey never made me a man. Don't realize whiskey never made me a man.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, that was unbelievable, man. That was beautiful. I remember you. Ooh. That's, you know, the industry that you're in, and I was in the bar industry for many years. You know, it's drinking's a big part of this.
It's something I've even battled in my life too,
Yeah.
right? And I just figured you try to write songs that hopefully have a good message and a good meaning at the end of the day. And he was right; it didn't make me mad. So.
That is powerful, man. Again, check out Will Ardell on Spotify. We're gonna be iTunes, YouTube Music. We're gonna be posting links to all these tunes. Have you got anything you feel like we're gonna call this section "Getting It Off Your Chest"? You know, it's hard to follow that because that's amazingly powerful, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. You know, how do you transition into something a little more lighthearted?
And in other news,
wow, no, that's amazing. We'll call this "Getting It Off Your Chest." Is there anything that you've seen in the news lately? Anything that's been going on that maybe you want to put your 10 cents into? Well, with inflation, 15.
I've probably been tuning out the news a lot more. I don't follow it. I think the last 2 years of COVID and all the fights and how society was divided, and I think I haven't followed the news as much lately as I used to.
I kind of wanted to get, you know, this is going to be kind of a surprise on you, but you know, we were talking earlier about I was just checking out the news that Anne Heche had passed away. You know, here we've got this accomplished actress, you know, seen driving 100 miles an hour down a residential road and crashed through a house. You know, and unfortunately she's passed away. You know, that's obviously never good when stuff like that happens.
No, of course not.
And you know, I was watching as well the other day on the Comedy Network. I was watching the roast of Rob Lowe. Okay, and trust me, this is all going to come together in the end. I'm not just rambling here.
It's like a Norm Macdonald joke, right?
Just keep follow me, trust me. But so you know, they were roasting Rob Lowe, and they one of the main jokes was how he had sex with that girl when she was 16 in 1985. You know, blah blah blah, and everybody's laughing about it and things like that. So, you know, with Anne Heche passing away, she's going to be lauded as a hero and this and that, and Rob Lowe, the guy. Here's what I have a bit of an issue with. Okay, we've got these celebrities. Were that somebody that wasn't getting paid to pretend to be somebody else on a big screen, they would be the dregs of society. They would be pieces of shit for running through a house. They would be a piece of shit for statutory rape, which of course is, you know. So how do you think it happens that this transition from normality into you are above everything that you do?
What?
I know that's heavy too, right?
Well, I just think we have to be careful of who we always idolize. That's maybe the best way to put it. Doesn't matter who it is. You always get. I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a follower of worship follower level of anyone, because we're all infallible as humans. So I think the problem is we often will put people on pedestals and then we'll refuse to acknowledge that those pedestals may be shaky.
Good call. Good
And
call.
I think that doesn't matter who it is, celebrities, preachers, politicians, the co-op manager. We've got to be better at that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to put it.
Mm.
I guess that's it's hard for some folks to do without true role models. You make your own.
Yeah, and I think the best thing we can do is, instead of maybe searching for the big role model, is just make a difference with your neighbor, with your kids, with your wife, with yourself, with the people that you know. That's how you make a difference on a personal level, instead of somebody up here, because that's how you change. I think that's how you slowly change things, is one person at a time.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I think we'll shut her down on that. That's man, this has been absolutely wonderful. I thank you so much for coming in and sharing your music with us. And
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
That last song, "The Dog," is complete. No,
He's up. He's our security guard has been kind of down here.
He was like, "Bring me a cigar and some scotch."
He's just out of it.
He's like, "I want to go trucking with this guy."
You put the dog into a seizure, for God's sake. But no, again, Will, thank you so much. It's been an absolute
My
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
Again, we're going to be doing this as often as possible. We're going to get some feedback and see how you folks like the show. It is the Basement Sessions. Check out Will Ardell Music, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, YouTube Music. We're going to be posting links to all this stuff, as well for Skull Creek Studios and Aspen and the folks over there. And even though they're not a sponsor, I want to thank 016 for doing a damn tasty beer.
And if they could do a mustache pulling less tap, that would be great.
Wouldn't that be? Fuck, there's $1 million idea right there.
It's gonna be stolen now. We're gonna have to sue people.
Great. So again, thanks for stopping by to the Basement Sessions, folks. On behalf of Will Ardell, our producer Mick, thank you so much. And I am that bearded Canuck. If you've been drinking, please don't drive. We're out of here.